Shivnarayan.
Yes, Oscar. Yes.
Welcome, Prashant. So today we have with us Prashant TriVedi, Guru for now, an expert in Vedic knowledge. And I would like to discuss with you the topic of definitions of the terms divine and God, as there are many concepts and misconceptions. Some, like Greg Braden, say that God is not of any form, but is a process. Other in ISKCON, based on Bhagavad Gita, says that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, as Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, it should be understood that all species of life, a son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I'm the seed-giving father. And so the question would be, if is God a person, what and or who is divine? So if you could maybe give us some clarity on that topic.
Okay, Oscar. The thing is, everything starts with words, right? Like, so God is an English word. What is the language now known as English? Okay, so now there are a lot of gods.
Yeah.
You know, it's not God is not a singular term in English because there are many gods, you know. So like Islam people will have their own God and definition, and Judaic people will have their own definition of their God, and then there is a Christian God,
yeah,
which has certain characteristics, and then like you said, ISKCON has their own definition of that term.
Mm-hmm.
So this term is a very vague term. I would consider a very vague term, can be used in many ways, and a lot of times the God out here is gender based, you know, like it can be a male god,
yep,
or a female goddess when it's called goddess. Okay,
yep.
Just okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a term which is very vague, you know, and sometimes if it's used as a thing like generator, operator, destroyer, which is also like given later, you know, it was not the original intent. Mm-hmm. So original intent was to create the vagueness, and that vagueness has spread around the world, and that was its purpose, to make this term.
Mm-hmm.
Divine is slightly more scientific term
mm-hmm.
compared to God, because at least it talks about diverse. Vine means branching,
yep,
diverse branching, but it hides the phi ratio part, you know, diverse branching and phi ratio. Okay, the golden ratio part it hides because you can't get that from the word divine. Okay,
yep.
There's no phi in it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now again, we are in English language still. We are in that language, and I'm sure a lot of other languages have different terms for the same concept.
Yep.
Okay. So I would like to go back to a root like terminology in a root language called Sanskrit.
Yep.
Okay. Now, Sanskrit, the term for the same thing is parmatma.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Parmatma. Okay. You can find it in all Sanskrit texts. Okay. You can find it even in texts which is ISKCON.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about, okay, this parmatma word. Okay. Parmatma. Okay. Which is related to another Sanskrit term called Atma. Atman, which is related to every being. Like each being has an Atma, A-T-M-A, Atma.
Yes.
Okay. So, which is now called spirit in
yep.
English. Right? Okay, spirit. Okay, so Atma, and the Atma is not the same in everyone. Okay, it has levels. So Atma has got levels. So Atma has levels like these beings, Atma can be at this level of coherence. Another being's Atma can be at another level of coherence. Okay. So there are different things like Jivatma, Mahatma, Devatma,
yep.
Rishyatma. Okay. There are various levels and hierarchies within the Atma concept. Okay. Okay. And at the top of this hierarchy, at the very top, is Param Atma, which means supreme Atmas, the supreme being, the supreme self.
Yeah.
Okay. Which I find is the most unambiguous definition. It's very clear. And it is not neither male nor female. It has no gender.
Yeah.
Okay. So first, gender issue finishes with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no gender issue. Now, it is a very specific term. Okay. Very clear. So it takes away all of this fiasco, you know, any other name.
Yeah.
It takes it away. It just is this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the supreme spirit, the supreme being, or the supreme that thing is always has a term called parmatma.
Yeah.
Which is not there in English.
Mm-hmm.
There is no English version of parmatma because the Atma concept is not there. You have to have the Atma concept first to have a Paramatma.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is lost in languages. Actually, the whole problem comes from language. Okay, and when you use a root language like Sanskrit and use parmatma, do you know what I'm saying? Because the word Krishna, for example, okay, comes from Krishna has meanings in Sanskrit like dark hued, dark colored,
Yep.
to do with Krishi, agriculture. There are different root terms, agriculture, dark colored, like these kind of things, so it is related to a particular aspect of nature and creation.
Yeah.
Not everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the only thing which is everything in Sanskrit, in any Vedic text, is parmatma.
Mm-hmm.
There is no other terminology which can be given. Now that parmatma can be like obviously take a form anywhere in any plane of existence. Okay. It's a being, just like you are a Atma, and now right now you have this physical body, and you call yourself, your name is Oscar right now.
Yep.
Okay. So you have also taken a form here on this particular plane called Earth right now. So if Atma can do it, okay, why can't Paramatma? Okay, it makes no sense that Paramatma can't do it. So the same that things, it has even more rights across the various planes of existence in the multiverse as Atma has. So to say that it can't have form or it is formless only is unscientific. Okay. Even a fractal has a form. Okay, it's a fractal form.
Yes.
So Paramatma means perfect fractal, perfect coherence, perfect. The word perfect is relates to Paramatma. And Param is like that only. That word Param in Sanskrit is like perfect. And Param means supreme too. Supreme, perfect, like these kind of connotations. If you combine a lot of English words, you will get the Param concept.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is the main thing. Like, so it's a matter of terminology, So there are Atmas, various kinds, various levels, and there is Paramatma. That's it. So that makes it very simple, Instead of the God confusion.
Yes.
Which is a confusion.
Yeah, it is.
And God and a God's confusion. Then there are demigods. These okay, and then there is a confusion with the term divine, because though it was trying to be scientific, it did not improve the phi ratio within the name. But Paramatma already has that perfect coherence and perfect fractality, which is phi within it. So that is more in that term. So I would suggest using the Sanskrit term Paramatma.
Okay.
For people with all languages, no matter what, to understand the concept, to be clear about the concept, and then there'll be no further confusion about different names which crop up, for that thing, so there'll be no confusion about this thing from this point on, and the generation, operation, destruction parts, the trigunam, which are the three devs in Sanskrit, like in Vedic is Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiv. Generator is Brahma, operator is Vishnu, and destroyer is Shiv.
Yes.
Which are the three branches of the Paramatma. The one becomes three, like in order for the creation to be working, like for the creation to work, that one has to become three. Just like the number one also becomes three, like 2, 3, like that. Like the more you go into the Vedic real thing, you'll find that this is all very, very clear. And there's no shadow of doubt in any of these things. And the modern words like God, and everybody has made their own God. So that has created confusion. You can make whatever, but Paramatma will remain the same. It does not matter what you make. You can keep on making whatever, and if some people have chosen the name Krishna to call it by, I don't know why they don't call it Paramatma, because even Krishna will have no problems with that term.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, right. If they so choose, to do that, it's up to them. All this, I think, just creates more confusion and craziness. And the point that all Atmas are not equal, and there's a difference in the levels of spirit. which beings have that level of Atma. It's a very important concept.
Yeah.
That's the most important concept to learn out here.
Yeah.
Because that gives you scope for evolution.
Yes.
If everyone's Atma was the same, and of the same power and the same everything, the same fractality, same coherence, same everything, then where is the scope for evolution?
There is no place for it.
There's no place for it. There's no space for it.
Yeah.
Okay, then if everybody was Parmatma, if everyone was Parmatma, then there is no point to do anything because you're already there.
Yeah.
You have already reached the highest possible state of being in the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but that is not the case. Beings realize even in their day-to-day life that they are not much in control of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Let alone the whole thing. So the more beings are in reality, this Atma concept brings you to reality that even at the deepest down, at the core level of your being, you have limitations.
Yeah.
Unlike the new age concept of unlimited, and according to new age principles, your internal that thing, being the self, the core self is unlimited.
Yeah.
What the Vedic is saying that even that Atman is limited.
Yeah.
Even though it does not die when you die,
Mm-hmm.
it takes another body and and its bodies can change, but it is not unlimited.
Yeah. In Islam, they even say that there are like two Atmas in the heart. So there's the Jiva, the Atma, and then there is this part of Super Atma, of Paratma Atma actually. So they call it Chaitya Guru. So they have the concept that there are like two Atmas there.
Yes. Yeah, that is, I only say that in the Vedic, there is only one Atma.
Okay.
Being. And that Atma, since it's also a fractal, will always be connected to the bigger fractal, which is Paramatma.
Yeah.
There will always be a connection between Atma and Paramatma. Okay.
Yes.
But doesn't mean that Paramatma has to sit right there inside you.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For you to have that connection. Okay. Yeah. Just the term Atma and Paramatma automatically creates a connection, even because the Paramatma has Atma.
Yes.
Okay. And Atma. So the word itself has connection, but doesn't mean that it has to sit right there. If that was the case, again, no need for evolution.
Yes, exactly. So it's already there.
It's already there. So again, it takes away all need for evolution once more.
Yeah.
So if that was the case, then Arjun never needed to ask any question to Krishna.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Because he had this Paramatma sitting inside him.
Yeah.
He could just ask to him.
Exactly.
Inside.
Yes.
So we wouldn't have any Bhagavad Gita, and we wouldn't have any of these things or any of that talk necessary. So again, this is just another sort of myth which has been propagated, illogical, just to misguide people. I mean, there are so many misconceptions which are being floating around, which I call part of darkness, like age of ignorance.
Yeah.
So, and for that, more nonsense has to be spewed in order to confuse matters more. Like Atma is finally under Paramatma, that is clear.
Yes.
Okay. But not within your being. That's why beings have free will.
Mm-hmm.
Free will is coming from where? From Atma only.
Yes.
Because your Atma is free to act.
Yes.
as it wills.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. It makes sense.
Yeah. If there was no separation and there's no that thing, it'll never have any free will. So the concept of free will also comes from the concept of Atma only.
Yeah.
And only that being part of your being.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
every being has an Atma.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a fact. And they are at different levels of evolution.
Yes.
And traits and power and everything, so as a whole. So that's all there is to it. It's a very simple concept, if people understand it, or it's very scientific. In scientific, you can terms partial fractality, perfect fractality, the difference, partial coherence, perfect coherence. That's all it is. So
So you say in your Gita that the original creative spark, which despite having created all the creations and dimensions, lies outside of it all. So could you maybe elaborate on that part?
Okay. Like Paramatma, I put it as like a spark, because like the Atma is also a spark, right? Inside you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you can consider that like another spark. Okay. But Parmatma creates the whole thing.
Yeah.
But then it still has to be outside. It can't, like, even if you participate,
Yeah.
You still outside the game,
Yeah.
you might not get caught up in it.
Mhm.
For example, if a computer game person creates a computer game,
Yeah.
now a lot of people around the world are very into that computer game, and
Yes.
they are playing madly and going crazy about it, and you are the creator of that. Play that game once or twice, okay?
Yep.
But doesn't mean that you will get caught up in it,
Yep.
like all these other people who are caught up in it in that kind of way.
Yep.
So that's what I mean by that.
Okay, that's why it's outside.
Yes.
So my gratitude, Shiva Narayan.